Hi, my name is Austin Zoot, and welcome to the Zoot Perspective Web Congregation. This is our first week back for a little while. We took some time off for a winter break, but we're back and ready to go. It is the first chapter of the book of Exodus. We're starting a new book of the Torah, which is a big and exciting thing, and we're starting with the most popular, famous character in the entire Torah, and that's Moses. We start the Exodus story with Moses and the birth of Moses and eventually the story of the Israelites being slaves in Egypt. And rather than specifically talking about the Torah portion, I want to relate it to something going on right now in the contemporary sense. Recently, right around Christmas time, the movie Exodus, Gods and Kings was released. I saw it. I have a couple of opinions on it, some of them great, some of them not so great. But I want to talk about the concept of storytelling and how it relates to the Torah and the Bible as a whole. The Torah is our central component of storytelling. Jews have always been storytellers, and the Torah offers some of the best and most engaging stories we have at our disposal. And it's so interesting that a text written so long ago, hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, is still used today to make box office hits. Ridley Scott is using a text that has been studied for hundreds of years. Now that's really interesting and it's really awesome. But what I find most engaging about that is that the text only reveals so much. Not to give anything away, but in Exodus, Gods and Kings, the movie, God is portrayed as a small boy, a 8-9-year-old boy. There's no indication in the Torah itself as to what God looks like, what manifestation God comes in. All we get is that burning bush concept, and that's not God, that's the attraction that brings Moses' attention to God. So, the authors or the writers of this movie took the liberty of saying, this is a hole in the biblical text, and we're going to fill that hole with our own interpretation. The Torah is so interesting that the stories are so meaningful that we continue to tell stories about it and based on it long after the text was written. But it leaves enough room for us to make interpretive decisions about what God looks like, how God is to be manifested. Even things like when we saw the movie Noah not so long ago, there were some interpretive decisions made about that movie as well. The bottom line, the Torah is a living document that has continued to be used today for storytelling purposes, and there are holes to be filled, and people use those holes to put their own spin on the story and to make it their own. This web congregation is not all that different. We're looking at the text and we're looking for some of the holes and we're looking for our own interpretations and how we can fill those holes with what we believe and what we think is most engaging. We're telling stories, we're making this a living, breathing document that we continue to interact with even to today. That's what makes the Torah so much fun to study, so much fun to talk about, and so much fun to experience, even in the box office and even in the movie theaters. That's what I get out of this week's Torah portion because this one happens to be very timely. I'd love to hear what you have to think. Tell me what you think about the new movie. Tell me what you think about the Torah portion. Tell me what you think about anything. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Make sure to leave a comment. Also make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You do not want to miss out on all the excellent stuff coming out of the Zoot Perspective Web Congregation. Thank you so much for your time. Shabbat Shalom.